All right,
All
we
right.
are live.
Officially on the air. I mean, we can give people a couple minutes to get in because I'm sure that people did not immediately rapidly click on the link, but we are going to get into some Thursday night football pregame discussion as well as talking about some fun stuff we got going on at Heavy as far as DFS contests and then just our general thoughts on tonight's game, this week's slate of games, the Brandon Cook situation. Maddie, are you excited for the riveting spectacle that we're about to get with Texans versus Eagles?
I made plans for the third and fourth quarter because I kind of felt like this is going to be a 1/2 game and then early night for me. I believe should we go ahead and get into talking or should we wait for some more people?
As
Okay.
people come in, they'll hear us in the middle of conversation. That's totally fine.
In the middle of it. So everybody expects the Eagles to come out and just run the ball down Houston's throat, because they don't guard anybody on like if you're running the ball, you can go ahead and have a touchdown. Like that's the way they do
Yep.
things there. But I sneaky feel like what's gonna happen is they're gonna come out just guns a blazing. Hurts is just gonna throw some bombs down to Brown. It's just gonna be like touchdown, 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 and then they're gonna rest Hurts for the rest of the game. That's why I kind of feel like we're going to have a top-heavy game in the first half just so that they can come out, get their lead, and then tap their players out, give them a rest.
I mean, I will be interested to see if that's how it plays out because it seems like every single primetime game where we expect it to go one direction, like where it's obviously it should go one way, it never does. And that's not me calling a Texans upset by any means, but it's also like this game on paper should be like Eagles 38, Texans 7, maybe 7 if they're lucky. Maybe. So I don't know. I almost feel like this is potentially a little trap game for the Eagles, not to lose again, but just to play maybe not up to their standard. It is in Houston, so you've got that factor as well. It's not, right on the Eagles' home turf where they're going to be super comfortable. But I don't know. I feel like how about we just give our official score predictions and we can kind of gauge it off of that? I mean, it sounds like you're saying this game's going to be basically over by halftime, so I feel like I can gauge what you're going for there. I'm going to go with Eagles. I'll say Eagles 27.
That was mine.
Texans 14. And I'll say one of those touchdowns will probably be late. That's my guess, but I feel like it's going to be a little closer than maybe people expect. And I think that might cover the spread. I don't recall what the spread was. I know it's one of the biggest of the week, but let me check. Would my score prediction cover?
My score prediction is okay. Wait, what is it? What's the line?
It's 13.5. So the Texans would cover it if my score prediction occurs.
My score prediction is 27-3 Eagles.
7-3. Oh man. So the Texans are really going to have a rough go of it. I mean, listen, we know that the Texans are coming in with not the best morale right now. Obviously, 1-5-1 record on the year. You've got Brandon Cooks, who's out for personal reasons, aka he's pouting the fact that he didn't get traded. And honestly, I get it. Like he's on the Texans. It's funny. He's already been traded a few times in his career. So on the surface, you might be like, does he really want to get traded again? But yes, if you're on a 1-5-1 team and you've been rumored to go to these potential contenders, like the Rams had major interest in him. The Packers obviously had a need for a receiver. I don't know if they made a serious offer. I think the Cowboys were in on him. And now he just has to sit out the rest of this year in Houston. And it's just another year of his career,
So Solid Gear for Life wants to know how the Texans can beat the Eagles. Brandon, you're an optimist sometimes. Let's hear it.
Okay, how can the Texans beat the Eagles? Again, it's like I said with, predicting this score to be a little closer than maybe some other people do. If the Texans come out with a win tonight, it's not going to be because they outplayed the Eagles. It's going to be because the Eagles beat themselves and because the Texans took care of the ball and took the opportunities that are afforded to them. If the Eagles have, an unfortunate turnover, I don't know where they rank as far as turnovers per game. I can't imagine it's very high because Jalen Hurts has been really good at protecting the ball this year. It's part of what has made him take such a big step forward. But if the Eagles have a turnover on their side of the field, the Texans have to take that and score. Like they don't have a choice. They need to make the most of every single opportunity and just hope that the Eagles come out flat. Hope the Eagles come out kind of overlooking them a little bit. They're, I believe 7-0, 8-0, one of those. They're cruising.
The world is overlooking them right now, so that's a given.
But yeah, again, primetime game, I wouldn't be shocked if the Texans kept it a little close. But yeah, that's really the only way they can win because the Eagles, just completely overmatched them in terms of weapons all over the field. The only thing I'll say is the Texans, I think, have an edge at running back. I think Dameon Pierce is a better player long-term than Miles Sanders is. I'd rather have him. He runs really, really hard and has impressed me a lot this year. Sanders, on the other hand, is kind of having his most productive year, his first real breakout year that we were hoping to see from him. And it's not a coincidence that it comes as the rest of the offense is finally just humming, right? So it's not necessarily him taking this major step forward, which he took a little one, but it's also just, hey, Jalen Hurts is a threat now to throw a touchdown to A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith 60 yards downfield at any second. Yeah, things are going to open up for Sanders a little more, and they're giving him more of a workload than they have in the past. It used to be a little more of a three-headed monster of whichever running back they decided to put out there. So I like Sanders. I think the Texans do have an edge at running back, but yeah, I Eagles will win this game unless, healthy.
So no chance. No chance.
Yeah, basically.
But we love the question.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody who's on right now. We have a pretty good little audience. We didn't really promote this. We just kind of fly of our seat, put this together. So thank you guys for kind of joining in and chatting it up with us. I have a fun question for you, Brandon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Involves betting.
Okay.
Little prop bet action.
Okay.
Who's going to be the first person to score a touchdown tonight?
First person score a touchdown tonight. Oh boy. Okay. So the easy answer is obviously A.J. Brown, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and not go with A.J. Brown. Let me throw this at you. Dallas Goedert. I got Dallas Goedert first touchdown tonight.
That came out of left field.
Dallas Goedert. It won't be a Texan because I don't care if they get the ball first. If they rush down and score a touchdown in their first drive of the game, it would be absolutely shocking. So Eagles should be the first touchdown. I'm gonna go with Goddard. He hasn't scored a ton this year, and I feel like, why not tonight where there should be plenty to go around?
He may have an opportunity later. I'm going A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown. Okay. A.J. Brown just continuing to torch the entire league and proving that he may be a legitimate top 5 talent at the position in the league right now. I mean,
he's the perfect example of you get yourself into a good situation and you just thrive.
Yeah. And he's been so good. And I mean, we've seen the step back that Ryan Tannehill has taken now because A.J. Brown is gone. Like, it just goes to show you cannot undervalue these young receivers who are clearly talented and are about to be waltzing into their prime. And the Titans were like, we don't really want to pay him. We're good with Robert Woods and Treylon Burks. Okay, guys, we'll see how that goes as we get further down the year. Titans are still probably going to win their division, but I find it hard to believe that they're not still missing the talent like A.J. Brown.
They're 100% missing the talent. I'm laughing. Albert says the first touchdown is a pick 6 by the Eagles defense. That's possible. That's possible.
I don't know what the odds are on first touchdown being a defensive touchdown. I know they're generally pretty long odds because that occurring in a game at all is rare. So, hey, Albert, listen, throw a couple bucks on that if you got it to spare. If you're really feeling it in your gut, because I think you could probably turn $5 into 40 if I had to guess.
Probably even more than that. Eric, thanks for tuning in. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah. And if anybody watching on any platform has questions for us, feel free to throw them our way. We don't have a super set agenda for this little pre-show. It's just kind of to talk to you guys and, hear your thoughts here. If you guys want to, get any thoughts from us on a specific topic, whether it's Texans, Eagles, or something else. I mean, we have our podcast every Tuesday off the bench where we kind of recap everything in the NFL, all the biggest storylines, some betting stuff, some fantasy stuff. We cover it all. So if you guys want to hear about anything, feel free to hit us because honestly, we talked about this off camera before the show. There's not a ton to dig into specifically for Texans Eagles. We know what we're expecting for this game. There's no major storylines really to look into other than Cooks being out. But even then, it's cool. Cooks being out turns the Texans from 14-point underdogs, from 20-point underdogs to 25-point underdogs or something. So it's not really a major difference tonight, I don't think.
Oh, you just struck a nerve there.
I see a question in here. Will Kyle Pitts start giving me fantasy points? Why can't I escape this guy? I open things up to any team, any player. I'm I'll talk about anything. And Solid Gear for Life comes in hot and is hey, Kyle Pitts. Solid Gear, listen, probably not. I don't know. This guy's a mess. I have no clue. He just had his best game of the year. Maybe he builds some momentum off that. One of my buddies told me that Chargers Falcons has one of the highest over-unders of the week, which surprises me and doesn't, because at the same time, like both teams have defenses that are underperforming, or in the Falcons' case, just not that good.
Mhm.
And but the Falcons' offense has not proven to be super explosive. Like they ran it up against the Panthers, so maybe that's part of why this is happening. And they may get Cordero Patterson back this week. But I don't know, one of the highest over-unders of the week. Hey, if those point total projections turn out to be accurate, Pitts could be a part of that, but at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked if Parker Hesse scores 3 touchdowns, because this is what the Falcons do. They've done nothing but put me in pain all year.
I think I'm going to just take all of your photos going forward and just Photoshop you into a Kyle Pitts jersey.
You know, I was thinking, so I'm going to be at Falcons Chargers this weekend.
Mhm.
And I was thinking of making sort of a bet against myself. If Kyle Pitts scores a touchdown, I have to buy a Kyle Pitts jersey. And then
I kind of love it.
I will suffer for the rest of my life by having a physical reminder of how much he's let me down. And granted, at least he wouldn't have let me down in that game because he scored a touchdown that forced me to buy the jersey. But
So you're starting him this week?
Yeah. Yeah. Listen,
You guys heard it here first.
I started Cade Otton last week. It didn't go great. And I'm sure at least half of the people listening, yes,
I'm just
sure
joking.
At least half the people listening are like, who is Cade Otton and what is wrong with you? My answer, I don't know, man. I couldn't even tell you where Cade Otton went to college. I'm being completely honest. All I know is he is a rookie tight end. He was playing above, because Cameron Brate had missed the game with an injury, I believe recovering from a concussion. And Cade Otton was getting decent amount of yardage, decent targets on the Bucs offense, against a Ravens defense that was reeling. I wanted a little sprinkle of action in the Thursday night football game last week. I was like, Cade Otton's my guy. I like him. 15 yards. Kyle Pitts goes for 80 and a touchdown. So the Kyle Pitts saga never ends. It just never ends. I'm in constant pain, Maddie. Constant pain.
You're in a toxic relationship. We got to do something about that. I do have a question though. We obviously have this DFS contest going on.
Mm-hmm.
Have you selected your lineup yet? Have you
I have selected my lineup.
So have I. Is Kyle Pitts in your lineup?
Hell no. Absolutely not. Listen, Kyle Pitts is in my lineup in my main fantasy league because I don't have a choice. I mean, I do, but I could go to my free agents and pick up what? Robert Tonyan or Logan Thomas. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. FanDuel, I can pick anyone I want. It's great. So I decided not to subject myself to that torture. And actually, I picked the tight end on the other side of the field for that game. I went with Gerald Everett in my tight end slot. Not because I think he's going to light the world on fire either, but I just liked him at his value. He allowed me to kind of pay up at some other positions. And I actually, I make these lineups sometimes earlier in the week, which is what I did with this, basically as soon as we announced the contest. And then I'll go look at it later in the week and either love it or hate it. I'm still liking how this one looks. I'm a fan.
Going with it.
I think I'm going to stick with it.
Solid Gear says, I must have really picked a bone with asking about Kyle Pitts. Yeah, you did.
Solid Gear.
He's been throwing fits for a week.
I don't know. I don't know how much you've tuned into the podcast or how much you followed me anywhere, but yeah, Kyle Pitts has his own segment in our actual full-length podcast every week. That's how much he has tortured me this entire season. And ironically enough, with tonight's game focusing on AJ Brown and the Eagles, AJ Brown was the player selected one pick after I took Kyle Pitts. So I could be sitting here, sitting pretty with AJ Brown. What did he put up, like 39 fantasy points last week? I could have had that to my name. It would have been wonderful. But instead, I'm dealing with Kyle Pitts, who is just a receiver being used as a left guard half the time. So I don't know. I just can't with Kyle Pitts anymore.
I'm dead. We'll have to circle back to the DFS, but let's answer this question. Do you think Philly will get Jalen a new contract in the offseason or wait? They have Uncle Brian Johnson. They're all in on Jalen.
I actually, so I haven't heard too much about like potential extensions with Jalen Hurts. I'll say this: they are morons if they are not throwing basically a blank check at Jalen Hurts at this point. Mm-hmm. But Jalen Hurts is, sorry, I'm looking up his contract details right now.
Here's the thing. I think that we have now reached the example of if you wait, it's going to be more expensive. So they might as well pay him this offseason and then get on with it. We all know that he's the guy, right? They literally brought in his family childhood, like I guess, coach, mentor, lover, all of the things. Not actually lover, but this guy's been obsessed with Jalen Hurts since he could walk. So when you bring that in and then you actually cultivate a team around a specific player, you're all in on him already. So you might as well get him for as cheap as you can.
Yeah, so I'm looking, and Jalen Hurts is set to be an unrestricted free agent in 2024, which would mean next year would be his last year under contract. If I had to guess, the Eagles kind of watching how the Lamar Jackson thing played out, and again, Lamar's not playing great, but the point stands. Like, they have this cloud hanging over their head now of, why didn't you extend a potential franchise quarterback? Like, you have to deal with that now the entire year. I imagine Philly's not going to want to deal with that, especially after what they've done this year and what they are projected to do the rest of the way. Even if they don't win the Super Bowl, like, they've got a quarterback that is going to lead them to, we assume at worst, like a 15-2 record, 14-3 if things really go downhill. Jalen Hurts is the guy. I think they will extend him probably this offseason. And he's probably going to get paid a lot. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he became the new highest paid quarterback in the NFL, just because basically every new contract, if you have a quarterback who's top 5, whoever the most recent contract is kind of just becomes the new highest paid quarterback. That's probably going to be Jalen Hurts. He's playing like he deserves it. And I'm very happy to see it. And I'm sure the Eagles fans are happy that they finally have a guy after dealing with the Carson Wentz debacle, followed by, a little bit of Gardner Minshew sprinkled into Jalen Hurts' starts last year. I think this has been a great step forward. And if they don't pay him, someone else will. Someone else absolutely will.
I think that they will, especially with all the talks about the guarantees floating around. Jalen's going to get that offer, and I think that he'll sign before that's even up. Who's going to make more, Lamar or Jalen? Well, Lamar's wanting everything guaranteed, so technically he could actually get lesser of a price tag, I guess you could say. It depends on how you look at it.
Sure.
And then get the guaranteed money.
Yeah. Well, Lamar coming into the year was basically looking at the Deshaun Watson contract and was like, Browns are willing to pay him that much. He hasn't even played football in a year. I'm leading your franchise. I'm your guy. Like, I want that much guaranteed at least, and probably more. Those were the reports. So we haven't really heard of anything Jalen Hurts specifically wants. You have to assume performance-wise that his agent is going to get him every dime that he deserves and has earned. I think Jalen Hurts is going to get paid more. They're both going to get a contract this offseason, again, unless the Eagles pull a Ravens and make Jalen play out his last year on $1 million contract.
Yeah. Well, and let's face it, the Eagles are a little less responsible in that area. So they would throw out more money without the argument,
Yeah, I just think if you are going off of, these seasons that Jalen and Lamar are having, like, Jalen's playing better at this point. I think Jalen may very well be a better thrower of the football.
Brand said it.
And rushing wise, like, they're kind of one and the same, right? I think Lamar tends to revert to trying to rush a little more than Jalen does. I think Jalen's game is a little more under control at times.
Well, Jalen has a better offensive line. He's not having to scramble as much.
100% factors in. But I think just you look at the performance this year, I don't know how we enter the offseason, see them both get extended, and see Lamar Jackson getting more money. I would just be a little surprised at that.
It'd be wild. Let's get back to DFS.
Sure. Let's get into it.
Okay, so if you guys haven't been following along with Off the Bench, we announced our episode's released on Tuesday, right?
Correct. Tuesday. Every Tuesday.
Okay.
Off the bench.
Every Tuesday. Wow, I'm getting things all confused. Okay, so I believe on Wednesday is when we announced the DFS contest. And basically what it is we have 150 slots. I think some of those are full now. It's $5 to enter. First place gets $100 cash prize. Second place gets $50, and then there are a few smaller prizes for third through 25th place. It's your chance to play a little friendly competition with me and Brandon. I hope I whoop up on you. I actually am pretty confident in my team. I had a strategy going in. My lineup set. Who's your quarterback? Are you willing to disclose? Or do you want to keep it on the low?
I'm willing to disclose my entire lineup, because if people want to tail me, that's just fine. We'll just have a 45-way tie for first place. I don't mind. But no, this is a really cool contest. I believe the easiest way to enter it too, just go to fanduel.com/heavy. I believe it sends you right to the contest page. So $5 entry, like Maddie said, $100 to first place, and ultimately bragging rights if you beat one of or both of Maddie and I. But yeah, so my quarterback right now, my quarterback's actually where I saved a little bit of money, but I liked it this week. Marcus Mariota is my quarterback right now.
Wow, I wouldn't have guessed that for you.
Yeah, I looked up and down the quarterbacks. I was just trying to find some sort of value. My initial thought was I wanted Justin Fields because of how much he's been rushing lately. I was like, his price will probably be fairly low still. It wasn't. His price has been hiked accordingly, and now I'm like, okay.
FanDuel was on top of that.
Yeah, and now I'm like, I don't really want to start the Bears quarterback who has only had 2 good games this year and is now facing a Dolphins defense that just added Bradley Chubb. I'm kind of all set with that. I think he can still have a good fantasy day. But no, I went with Marcus Mariota. I think he's going to be running the ball enough to where it makes him a viable play. And yeah, he just allowed me to save a little money and, go throw that money elsewhere at some other positions.
Okay. Also, this is subject to change, but where I'm at right now, I went hot and heavy. I went with Josh Allen.
I mean, you can't go wrong.
You're getting trolled in the comments right now, by the way. Did you see Ryan's comment?
What is Ryan? Tried to enter and grab Pitts. Then my FanDuel is Ryan. FanDuel is saving you. Was going to name my lineup. Let's troll brand. Okay. Listen,
you literally can't escape Kyle Pitts.
If I want someone, I don't even think you can enter a lineup that has empty spots in it. But if you could, I would laugh my ass off if somebody just entered a lineup with Kyle Pitts and nobody else. Like I would, that'd be hilarious. And I will give you a shout out on one of my social medias if you did that. I don't think it's possible, which is why I feel comfortable saying this because I think FanDuel yells at you if you don't fill all your lineup slots. Or
they could just play players that aren't going to play.
Yeah, just throw in him and then throw in like Ian Book at quarterback and a JJ Taylor at running back. Yeah, sure.
Go through the list and find players you have no idea who they are and just start them. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll make a separate account just to troll you.
Not the Kyle Pitts troll account. No. But yes, I saved money with Mariota and then let's see where I spent most of it. I think kind of evenly distributed just among my running backs and receivers. So my running backs, I went with the kids at running back, Travis Etienne and Kenneth Walker. Travis Etienne, second year, but basically
Etienne surprises me for you.
That I would select him. Why is that?
Because you save so much money on your quarterback, to be honest.
Yeah, so Etienne is at 7,600 right now. Kenneth Walker is actually at 8,300, so he's priced over Etienne. I feel like Etienne's a value it doesn't seem like the market has fully corrected for the fact that he's taken over this backfield and is facing the Raiders. So I just feel like he's a smart play. Like Kenneth Walker is a guy that I'm paying a semi-premium for, but I just think he is the Seahawks like engine of their offense, which is wild to say because they have, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett still. But I really like the young guys at running back. And yeah, Etienne, I feel like Etienne will be my highest scorer this week. I wouldn't be surprised.
I love that for you. I was darted off because I was pulling up my roster. I spent the money on mine.
On your running backs? That's where you
just like all over. I dropped some on quarterback, running back. I saved on, I still can't find mine. I saved on flex and I saved on tight end because let's be honest, like I'm not blowing all my money on tight ends this year because they're as a whole kind of underperforming.
That's what Gerald Everett kind of was for me. Gerald Everett was kind of a happy medium. I mean, he's at 5,800. So it wasn't like I had to, pay up for him, but with the Chargers not having Mike Williams, potentially not having Keenan Allen, I was like, Everett feels like a good play here against the Falcons. Let's go with it. And the Falcons are notoriously bad at defending tight ends. This is a trend that is dated back a couple years now. So I don't know what it is, if it's just the bad juju in Atlanta that doesn't allow for them to defend tight ends well, but something about it that I'm buying into at this price for Everett.
Okay, I have my list finally pulled up. Okay, right, so running backs, I have Josh Jacobs and then Singletary. Okay. Wide receiver, this is where things get a little pricey. I went Jefferson and Tyreek Hill. So Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill. Okay. So That was most of it.
Yeah.
And then flex, this might change. I have Perryman, tight end, Robert Tunyon, which is hilarious after we just talked about that. And then my flex, I went with Sony Michelle, and then defense is the Dolphins. Subject
Okay.
to change, but I felt like a lot of my bigger points were going to come from that wide receiver running back situation.
Yeah.
Obviously quarterback as well.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
I strategized that.
there's something to be said for the sort of studs and duds strategy. I mean, I've seen it work for people where, Jefferson and Tyreek Hill are going to get you 35 points each. And then, Sony Michelle will get you 3, but you don't really care because getting him allowed you to get those other guys. So I totally understand that. I'll just go through the rest of my lineup. So it's Mariota, ETN, and Kenneth Walker. And then wide receivers, pretty balanced group, but like still really good players. There's one guy I save money on here, and you'll know who it is. So I have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Adams, and Tyler Boyd. And then my flex is Terrace Marshall. So Terrace Marshall was the money saver, but one of the top wide receivers in the Panthers offense. All he needs is a couple targets and he'll return that value. Gerald Everett at tight end. And then I also went with the Dolphins defense. I just think against the Bears, added Bradley Chubb, who even if he's only playing a handful of snaps is going to help them. And the Dolphins were reasonably priced was a big part of that as well.
That was a big thing for me too.
Yeah.
I like that though. I still hope I whoop up on you a little bit. I might have to make some changes.
Yeah, I'm not by any means saying that this is the final lineup. I mean, as more injury reports come in and guys become better values, things can change. A guy like Deion Jackson, for example, it's looking like Jonathan Taylor is not trending the best way right now for the Colts. So
that was nice of you to say.
Yeah.
That was a very nice way to put it.
Not trending the
he's
best. Well,
pooping his panties right now.
He's been bad, but also this week he's not even practicing. So there's a pretty strong chance he misses this game, in my opinion. If not, he'll at least be limited. And with them trading Nyheim Hines away to Buffalo, Deion Jackson probably has some sort of role in that backfield, regardless of Taylor's status. So, that's a guy that, like, if and when Taylor gets officially ruled out, you make that late sub and you can have a value running back, and maybe I can, get him into my flex and beef up, turn Mariota into a better quarterback or something like that. So just things to keep an eye on as the week goes along.
Ryan wants to know if there's any concern with Adams still being sick.
So it's impossible to know, right? But I don't think so. It was flu-like symptoms. He was dealing with a flu last week, and by all accounts, we didn't really expect it to affect him in the game. It's a flu that he was being reported as having like on Wednesday, I believe as early as Wednesday. So you assume he gets over that by Sunday. It appeared maybe he didn't. It could have also just been a result of Derek Carr having his worst performance of the year, but Devontae came out of that game with 1 catch for 3 yards. A full extra week to recover from whatever illness he had. I'm not worried about it. He practiced in full today. I expect a big bounce back for him against the Jags. Not a concern of mine unless he's got, some long-lasting illness that needs to get checked out. No, I think he'll be good.
Well, we'll start wrapping this up because it's almost game time. I know we have a really super exciting game to get to. It's going to be packed with action. Give us a bold prediction for the Eagles game tonight. Eagles-Texans game. That was really shitty of me.
There's another team in this game other than the Eagles? Okay, bold prediction for tonight. Let me give you a fantasy point bold prediction. So as bad as the Texans are going to be, they've opened up some opportunity with Cooks being out and Nico Collins being inactive. I'm going to say Philip Dorsett has 15 or more fantasy points tonight. PPR, of course.
I like it. I'm going to steal one from Albert. I think my bold prediction is the first touchdown of the night is going to be an Eagles pick 6. Fly, Eagles, fly.
I love it. You know what? I would love it even more if that's the first play of the game, and it wouldn't be surprising in the least.
Honestly, Eagles, I'm speaking this into existence right now. I'm manifesting it. I want a thick 6. I want to see Lane Johnson shimmying in the end zone or Mariota. You know what? Hell, give me Jason Kelce doing a little something. I don't know.
I feel like a center.
I'm obsessed with this offensive line. They can move him down, though. They can move him down. They can move him to a tackle position or something for a play.
That's true. It's tougher for a center.
If you send Jason Kelce as a right tackle, Houston's defense would just be like, what is happening? What do we do?
And listen, we've seen it. Putting a Kelce as a pass catcher isn't generally a bad idea. So maybe he's got some of what his brother has.
And
Who
he's
knows?
super athletic. I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
he's thick, but he can get up and move. You have
100%.
one more question. Has Brian Robinson lost some grip on the starting job in Washington?
Oh, Brian Robinson, guy very close to my own heart. I drafted him. I held him for 4 weeks. He's been one of my starting running backs since, partially just because the rest of my roster is very down bad. But no, I love Brian Robinson. I do think he's losing, maybe not necessarily the starting job, but the term starter is becoming less important in Washington lately. It's just a term for who is on the field for the first snap of the game rather than a guy who's going to be a workhorse in that backfield. Antonio Gibson looks really good. I don't know if it's because he got a fire lit under his ass with Brian Robinson coming back, but he scored touchdowns, I think, in back-to-back weeks. He's been more involved as a receiver, really, but Brian Robinson, I think he's still going to be plenty involved in the backfield. It's just a reminder that, he's not headed for 20-plus touches a game probably anytime soon, at least not every game. He may sneak into that sometimes, but yeah, Antonio Gibson's playing well.
All right. Well, we're going to get off here, get prepared for the game. Cameron's only going to watch because Hurts is starting fantasy quarterback. Fair enough, Cameron.
I don't blame you, Cameron.
I hope he goes off the 2 quarters he probably is going to play tonight.
Yeah.
But you guys, thanks for taking time to hang out with us and watch us and listen to our podcast that comes out every Tuesday off the bench. We may do some more of these, so keep an eye out. Brandon, any last words of wisdom?
FanDuel.com/heavy. Join the contest. See if you can beat us. I promise you, you probably can if I'm being realistic. But you got to try.
He gave you his whole lineup.
You can't do it unless you try. You have to enter. So FanDuel.com/heavy. We're playing DFS for the main slate of Sunday's games. Get in there. Try your luck.
All right. Good luck, guys. Thanks for tuning in.